Hey, 7th grade. This video is for those of you who missed the Zoom today. We're talking about multi-step circle problems. The first thing we need to remember is that we've got two formulas that are super important. Area is equal to pi, which is just a number. It's always 3.14159, blah, 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 blah. Most of the time we can just use 3.14 in our class. So pi times the radius squared. And the other formula we need is circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Now remember, radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the edge. Diameter is the distance across, okay? So if I know diameter, but I need radius, I just divide by 2, all right? So let's do a couple together, and then you will do the rest on your own. A greeting card is made up of 3 semicircles. O is the center of the large semicircle. A semicircle is a half of a circle. Sarah wants to decorate the distance around the card with a ribbon. So here. How much ribbon does Sarah need? Round your answer to the nearest tenth. Well, if we're going around the edge of the circles, that sure sounds a lot like we're finding circumference, right? So I'm going to need to find this distance and this distance. And then I'm going to need to find this distance down here. If you look, here's a semicircle with a diameter of 5.2, and here's a semicircle of a diameter of 5.2. I could put those together and make one circle with a diameter of 5.2. And if I wanted to find the circumference of that circle, it's 2 times pi times r. Well, I know that 2 times r is equal to the diameter. So then I could do pi times 5.2 and get the circumference of that circle, or this part right here. I'm going to use the pi button in my calculator. If you don't have one, you can use 3.14. So this top distance is 16.3. It says round to the nearest inch, so while I'm calculating, I'm going to use 1/10 of an inch. Now let's find this distance, the bottom of the card. Here we have a radius of 5.2 because O is in the center of the large semicircle. So I need to find the circumference of that circle. It's equal to 2 times pi times r. And again, I'm going to use the pi button, but if you don't have it, that's okay. Use 3.14 instead. That gets me 36.7. It's really 36.67, but I'm going to round. Now, this isn't a complete circle. This is a semicircle, so I need half of that. So I divide by 2, and I get 16.3. So this blue length is 16.3. This top length, this red length, is 16.3. So I just add 16.3 and 16.3. That gets me 32.6. And we're rounding to the nearest inch. That 6 next door says round up. So we'll say 33 inches. So let's move on to our next slide. We've got to clear our ink here. I'd like that formula back, please. We have got another greeting card. Sarah wants to cover this greeting card in glitter. We need to find out how many square inches of glitter does Sarah need? Round your answer to the nearest 1/10 of an inch. So the first thing we'll do is find this area here. We'll do it in parts. Area is equal to pi r squared. We know the diameter is 5.2. You cannot read that. So the radius has to be half of that. And we get 2.6. So the area of this would be pi times 2.6 squared. And that gets us 21.23. Now that would be if this were a full circle. This is a half of a circle, right? So really we would want half of that to find this area. But if you'll note, this over here has the same diameter, which means it has the same radius, which means it has the same area. So this semicircle would be half of 21.23. This semicircle would be half of 21.23. Add them together and you get 21.23. Our next step is to find this area. We know that area is pi r squared. And the radius for the large circle is 5.2. So then you just punch that into your calculator. We get 84.94. And we're covering all of that card with glitter, so we need to add these two together. And that gets us 106.17. And we are to round to the nearest tenth of an inch. Here's the tenths place. That 7 next door says round up. So we get 106.2 square inches. Okay. Sally is bending a length of wire into the shape shown. So we've got this like half circle shape here, and then a quadrant, which is a fourth of a circle. We need to find the length of the wire. The wire is going along the outside edge, right? So we would need to find the circumference of half of a circle. Let me clear that out actually. We would need to find this distance here, which would be 2 pi r, that's circumference. But that's a semicircle, so we would also divide it by 2. That would take care of the purple. Now let's do this orange segment. And that's not a half of a circle, but a fourth of a circle. So we would do 2 pi r divided by 4. So that takes care of the orange section and the purple section. Then we would just have to add 12 and 12. So when you add these all up, you end up with that wire shape. So the point of these problems is just to break it up into shapes you can recognize, decide whether you need the circumference or you need the area, and then add or subtract as is appropriate. Please pause the video here. You can enter in your response for the length of this wire. For this problem, Judy baked a pizza and had part of it for lunch. After the meal, the shape of the remaining pizza is made up of a semicircle and a quadrant, which is, again, a fourth of a circle. Find the area of the remaining pizza. Area of a full circle is equal to pi r squared. So please find the area and enter it in. A tire of a car has a radius of 10.5 inches, so center to the outside edge. How many revolutions does the tire need to make for the car to travel 13,200 inches? Use 22/7 as an approximation for pi. Well, when we talk about a car traveling, that's going to be the outside edge, right? So first we would need to find the circumference of the tire. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r. Remember, you're using 22/7 in this case for pi. So find that circumference, please. Now that you know the circumference, you're going to plug it in here. Whatever number you got there, that is your circumference. And the circumference times the number of revolutions gets you to 13,200. So you need to find out What number times your circumference will get you to 13,200? Hint, treat this like a one-step equation.